I want to welcome Adit from Kaltura to talk all about scaling personalization with AI and video. Welcome. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. I have to find a creative way to steal this. Now you gave me some great ideas. Thank you so much. So first of all, Lara is my hero. Where is she? She's not just my podcast hero, but she's my shoe hero, because yesterday I was wearing similar shoes to her with the heel, and that's why I'm wearing these today. For those of you who started in the world of financial services about 20 years ago like me, you couldn't get away with leaving your cubicle without a jacket, let alone wearing sneakers, but you know, time has changed, so all is good. I am really excited to talk to you guys today. You know, it's the last day and in the afternoon, so we're going to keep the energy up that Tara generated. I want to talk about things that I'm passionate about, which is video, Gen AI, and most importantly, using that to drive something very tangible, to drive customer growth. But why am I talking to you? Who am I? My name is Adit. I live here in New York. I have a husband named Steven, a daughter named Bella. I've been in the world of video for 7 years, and before that, in technology forever, for many years. And my focus has always been on improving the customer experience and finding different technologies to do that. And specifically, I've worked and partnered with many of the large and small banks and financial services organizations. That's been part of the passion of the work, so we're going to talk a lot about that and how that all fits in. So today, we're going to give you a little bit of a tasting. So why is Kaltura really a company that can come and tell you a little bit about personalized digital experience and driving growth? Who here has heard of Kaltura before? Not a lot. We had quite a few customers in whether you know it or not in this conference. We have been a company for 18 years. We power any video experience for companies. Many of the Fortune 500, we have over 1,000 customers. We're worldwide. The 1,000 customers include the top 10 financial services organizations that are headquartered in the US. You see a few names down here. Obviously, you don't see a lot of financial services, and you guys know why. You're marketeers. You know we're not allowed to use something without permission. So a lot of experience in that realm, from webinars to virtual events, community hubs, podcasts, which we talked about, whether it's video podcasts or audio podcasts, and just all kinds of experiences, and we're going to touch on a lot of that today. So what are we here to talk about and why? This is not new information, but I really love this quote from Salesforce, which is that 25% of the customers told them that they switched banks, and a third switched their insurers because of their desire for a better digital experience. How many here take into consideration what that online experience is before deciding which insurance company or which bank or which wealth advisor they're going to go with? It's definitely a factor, right? So that's an interesting thing in its own, and I don't think it's surprising to anybody here. But what's even more interesting, and I'm going to layer it on a little bit, is that less than 30% have a comfortable level of financial literacy. And that goes not just for consumers, but also within institutes. The financial literacy is getting harder and harder to understand all concepts that are going on in finance. On the other hand, you want a digital experience. I think what that tells us very simply, and this stat also brings it to light, is that nearly 70% of customers are looking for their banks to offer them personalized financial advice. Now, I know personal information has always been sort of a sensitive spot, but I think more and more, especially in the generations coming into the workforce, do not want just general blanket things brought to them. You know, I always give this great example that I have. I'm an Allstate customer, and they regularly send me emails to try to get me to insure my car with Allstate, even though I've told my agent about 6 times that I live in New York City, I do not have a car. So it's a pretty interesting, you know, I don't want that email, right? I don't want that reach out. Now let's layer another piece on this, which makes it terrifying. So if the financial services organizations, the banks, the insurance companies are not providing this information, then where do they go? 55% say they go to TikTok. That terrifies me to get that information, and I think this stat is exaggerated, but it's saying only 41% of TikTok users fact check. I think it's much less than that. And that means that, you know, they're not really getting the information that they need, and it might even be dangerous information, and they're really hungry and looking for financial experts to help them along their way. So the bottom line is when you're talking to your customers, institutional or just consumers, personalized video, and you know, talking about video because it is the richest of rich content and everybody engages with the video. Personalized video content is where you can shine. That's where you can really bring it forward. So at this point, I can stop the presentation, right? We got to the point, right? It's clear. Personalized video, we're done. I proved it to you. So what's the problem? Like, why is it a challenge? Why is it worth a discussion? And what can we do about it? Number one issue, which in itself is not an issue, we heard a lot of presentations here talking about high quality content in general and specifically video. We just heard about all the logistics that come into play in recording a podcast. So obviously, when you go into video and not just audio, you have a lot of different logistics that come in play, but it's not hard. We know how to do it. We have video teams in some of the companies, or we work with external video teams. We know how to put this together. It starts getting difficult when you layer on number two, which is high scale. How many here have been asked to provide more content than ever without receiving any additional budget for people or content creators? I think some of you are just not raising your hands, but you need to. Absolutely, that's what we're hearing across a lot of financial firms. You're not getting more budget, or you're getting minorly more budget, but the expectation is to provide lots and lots of content. So marry that with high quality video content, and how does that work? How do I bring teams to record content, make sure it's high quality, and then do that at scale? And of course, personalize, because we just talked about personalized content. How do we layer on the personalization? Now let me add the non-elephant in the room, because many people have put it on the table and in the middle of the room in these presentations, which is the world of compliance. And I'm going to layer on even one more layer. How many of you are getting more and more and more justified and wonderful pressure from your accessibility and ADA and DEI organizations to ensure that everything is accessible? At least accessible, the very, very least. So the governance within, especially financial institutions, so accessibility and DEI is across the board, and it's a great thing for our society, but it does require a lot when you're creating content. Compliance and financial compliance, that really creates something that sort of stops you, and we will talk about this a little bit more. So all of these things, personalized content, great. I mean, we see a lot of personalized content online, but when you layer on that financial institutions, high scale, but still high quality, that's when you get into a little bit of trouble and some challenges. Before we dive into a few ideas, and I'll have done my job, especially in the afternoon crowd, if you all feel like you've gotten one tidbit, one thing out of this presentation that you feel like, you know what, I could take this forward, this is interesting, this is something I want to jot down, this is a slide I want to take a picture of. But we're going to start, before we get into the ideas or the tidbits, with this cycle. This is life cycle, just a sample life cycle of a customer, and how we take them through that life cycle. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but what I really enjoy, and what I think is important to understand, especially when you're dealing in personalized data, is when you look at the bottom blue arrow that says continuous engagement with new and repurposed content. Now, think about this. Many of your customers are not one-time customers. There are a few businesses that deal with one-time customers, but many of the customers engage with your brand more than once in one way or another. And each of those engagements is not a life cycle. The life cycle of a customer is a cross-engagement, and not just the products they buy, but the way they interact with your brand, the way they interact with your marketing. And this loop is a continuous loop even at that level. So if a type of customer comes in here and gets the personalized content, they have a response to that content. How do you capture that response to the content and use it to tune this loop? And think about this as a tightening snake, right? It's a loop that's constantly tightening and getting much more specific and much more accurate in how it engages your customers. Let's start with idea number one. Exists in the market. I don't know how many people are using it here. It'd be great to see once I explain what this is. So driving engagement in real time. So I'm standing in front of you in a physical room. Some of you are looking at me, thank you very much. You know, you look engaged, I'm so happy, this is wonderful. Some of you are multitasking, and that's okay. You know, I sat in some of the sessions and I multitasked, and that's fine. Some found a seat in the back because they have a project that they need to deliver on pretty quickly, and they might be sort of I might be losing them here and there. I can sort of assess, if I'm a good multitasker in my mind, what the general engagement of the audience is, and maybe, you know, if I see that you guys are not 100% engaged, I'll say, okay, I'm gonna take a poll here in the room. How many people use AI in their business? I'm really taking this poll. Okay, wonderful. The moment that you raise your hand, you listen to this poll, you raise your hand, it's pretty easy, you're more engaged. You know, maybe I turn on music and make it just a little bit more powerful, and music, for some odd reason, gets people sort of, you know, looking, paying attention, etc. Now, I might be a speaker that can't really, you know, multitask in that way. My husband cannot. So he can speak, he can't multitask, and what if there was an AI assistant that could tap me on the shoulder, a real assistant, we'll get to AI, but a real assistant. AI assistants in real life would be a little freaky. Tap me on the shoulder and say, it's time for a poll, and by the way, I recommend you ask about AI. That would be awesome. What this AI assistant is driving engagement in an event. So think about a webinar that you're hosting, and your AI assistant knows that some people are putting this in a back tab, but actually using a different tab on their browser, or they're muting the microphone or the speaker or turning it down. Or not enough people are engaging in the chat when asked questions, being able to score that and automatically not just say you have an engagement problem, but bring forward some ideas, that is an AI assistant in real time. Obviously, it also affects, you know, non-real time video on demand that you have on your website. You know, figure out, is the content good? Are people listening, you know, and watching all the way to the end? And what do you suggest? What could I do? And the more you use it, the more it learns and is able to actually suggest better ways to engage your audience. So that's idea one. Idea two, we talked about in different scenarios here, and I love the ones that got into real specifics, is around analytics. And we talked about that loop, and how do we keep on tuning that loop and making it sort of a constantly tightening snake. It's looking at information, and the information is not just about, did the person watch the video to the very end? That's a very basic, you know, video information. You also want to know, did they engage? Did they write a comment? If it's a podcast, did they rate it? All that kind of stuff. At the persona level, at the person level, sometimes if you're institutionally marketing and you're looking at sort of an ABM, account-based campaign, at the content level, which content is more engaging, which is less engaging. So you're looking at all this information, and you want to use that in order to optimize, to fine-tune, and to create personalized content on that basis. And the beauty of this is the use of analytics is becoming an automated piece. It's never going to go away that we as individuals, and especially, you know, the smart marketeers in the room, are going to have to look at the data and really get creative, because creativity is a very human trait. But there are basic things that can be suggested by AI based on analytics that will help you sort of get there faster. So one of the things that you can do in real time, and we had some conversations about this in different sessions, is as it pertains to accessibility, the basic need of accessibility in the world of video is captions, exactly. So you want a caption in English, in the spoken language, yes. Translate if you're a multinational company and you have people attending from all over the world, in real time, or maybe afterwards. The answer is yes to all of the above, right? Do you want a picture-in-picture American Sign Language? You want to be able to add that to your content? Absolutely yes. More and more, especially for companies based in the US. Obviously, there are different sign languages in different countries, but we're hearing that from our customers more and more. There's more of a need to provide these capabilities and to provide them in a more automated way, and AI provides not just the automation, but also the level of accuracy of captions, I don't know if you guys are noticing, is going up. It doesn't mean that you don't need to train. It doesn't mean that there isn't some concern in the world of financial services that you need to make sure you don't make a mistake and you need some time to correct it afterwards, but it means that getting there is much, much faster than it's ever been. So another side of this, we talked a little bit about live events, whether it's simulated live or live events or live webinars. Let's talk about community portals. And we talked about the fact that many consumers and institutional customers would really like their financial institution to be that thought leader and that provider of information in a way that they can consume it. So we're seeing more and more branded on-site portals. This is just an example from Bank of America. This is public information from them. Provides educational video content in an accessible hub on their website. So looking for ways to really get out there. Of course, you need to be seen in arenas in which your consumers are navigating, whether that's different websites or social media, et cetera. But owning that information and giving them the confidence that this is the point of truth and this is the brand, and keeping them in brand is extremely important. You want it also to look like a really engaging experience, a Netflix-like experience. That's what your customers are looking for. Whether they're institutional or consumer, I think we all know that the inspiration for everything that we're doing is based on the consumer market. So bringing it forward in a way that's engaging, being able to generate metadata that will allow you to provide a customized, personalized experience, even in a portal, that's different from one type of persona to another type of persona, that knows how to learn what's working and what's not working, that creates automated metadata for deep search across the site, that suggests, just like Netflix suggests content to us, that suggests content to your customers. All of that is the present. It's not the future. That's something that's done in the world of content, and especially rich content like video. So an example, just to sort of pause for a second, AXA investment managers use a Kaltura media space, which is a video portal for their business, to track and manage their marketing content. So they're able to they publish on their websites, they're able to push publish on their websites, but also have a portal for their marketing managers as well as any kind of internal employees that need to have access in a very accessible and very easy way within this video portal. The interesting thing is by using this portal and also exposing it to their customers, they're able to get, for them, a large amount, over 800,000 impressions in a year, and they reach tens of thousands of audience members to share information on the financial landscape, and just that thought leadership and that interesting educational information that consumers are looking for. Another example, this one from Europe, from ABN AMRO, which is a bank in the Netherlands. They use a video solution, Kaltura, across everything that they do. So for video creation in a smart way, to being able to deploy it to webinars, to podcasts, both video podcasts as well as audio podcasts, live streams, all kinds of good stuff, and they're able to really engage their audience through consolidating it all and providing it as accessible through their customer portal. Let's talk a little bit about repurposing. There have been some conversations on repurposing, and of course, leveraging AI, we can do even much more with repurposing. It's now very, very easy to repurpose content in a smart way using AI. So it's not just about, I'm going to trim this, I'm going to take off, and replace what's not good. That's important editing stuff. But being able to think about the content and how can I use this content. So, we talked about engagement analytics. So when we have people engaging with a piece of content, if there's areas in that content that provide much more engaging, that prove more engaging, for the consumers, that could be a snippet that's automatically created by AI. And you can turn it into micro-marketing material. It can turn into micro-learnings for your customers, anything you want. It doesn't have to be video. It could also be turned into a one-pager. Think about how do my customers want to receive this information, and there's a variety of different ways in the world of digital. So we have something called a content lab, which really allows you, based on search terms and that are based on your videos within your organization, to be able to dissect the video, chapterize the video, clean the video, and create multiple pieces of content, and of course review it before that content is distributed in the various channels across the organization and outside of the company. I'll give an example here. I can't use the name, unfortunately, on this one, but it's a top investment firm based in the US that their issue was, and I've heard some conversations about this, they wanted financial advisors to record personalized messages that can go onto their personal websites. So financial advisors, for those not in the realm, have personal websites, much like real estate agents, right? They want to go out, they want to market to the public and get more and more customers. So they wanted to record these. And to do that, in order to be compliant and to have it represent the brand well, they had to let somebody in marketing know, get a video crew to come along. The video crew would take a video and then would go and edit it. Then about $10,000 later and weeks later, they would get an edited video that they would have to submit for approval through a unstructured approval process, sometimes structured, sometimes unstructured. They were looking for ways to make a bigger impact in this market. The solution that was provided is a solution that we call Kaltura Studio, which allows you to select from templates of types of videos, 3 to 5 minute videos, just very impactful short videos. For example, I want an intro template to myself as an advisor, or I want to talk about the new sustainability wealth investment package, etc. Those templates were pre-created, but had areas like, what is your name? What are your hobbies if you're telling about yourself? Who is your family? And so you fill out a form like a wizard-driven process. In the end of that, it would create an automated script. Once the advisor is happy with that script, press of a button, it goes into an approval process that is done automatically. It's sent automatically to the right person in a queue, not in an email, or also in an email, but in a queue. They can review. Once they've given the okay, it can be recorded. It is teleprompted at the eye level so that the recording is nice. And the final product is the advisor with lower thirds of both the name and title, as well as captioning if they want it there, fade in, fade out music, open roll, close roll, B-roll, etc., for obviously compliance and all kinds of beautiful verbiage that you saw that takes up the screen in Lara's presentation. Same thing. Be able to provide a canned marketing video that sort of fade out with an overlay message from the advisor, just beautifully done in about 5 minutes. They can record a few different versions. I don't like my hair in this version. I like my hair. We'll get to avatars in a minute. If I like my hair, I don't like my hair. Bring in the right version, click a button. Depending on the template they use, because the template constrains them, it goes to a certain approval process. And then at the end, press another button, button number 3, and once it's approved, they're able to deploy it to their personal web page or somewhere else on social media like LinkedIn, for example. The bottom line in this is they were able to go from months, and some advisors were doing maybe 2 videos a year, maybe 1, to minutes to create videos where advisors are creating them on a weekly basis. They had an audited compliance workflow that kept them compliant. Their auditors, the compliance people, loved us because we created that solution that was extremely auditable and very easy to see where things are and what should be said and what shouldn't. And they were able to increase their lead conversion by over 20% using this methodology. So if somebody says to you that you can't innovate because you're in a financial services organization, you have a lot of compliance, well, where there's a will, there's a way. And there's a way to be fully compliant and pass regulatory needs, but at the same time provide very innovative, very high quality, and at high scale video. And last but not least, just so you have something that you can look up, anyone who wants to scan the QR code, this is a testimonial by VMware. VMware repurposed content in a really meaningful way, both for internal employee needs as external customer needs, saving between $1,000 and $1,500 per clip that was required to manually edit a clip by using AI and the Content Lab in order to manufacture these clips, select which ones they want to use and deploy them, and that saved them 3 to 5 hours per clip, $1,000 to $1,500, and they do thousands of clips a year. So a lot of savings, there's a lot you can do. As a company, we put a lot of emphasis on regulatory requirements and in AI, for example, everything that's emerging in conversation. So we're prepared to have those conversations and are very conditioned to within your regulatory partnerships within the organization, your compliance officers, et cetera. And it's just amazing, and it's funny that it excites me. Maybe it doesn't excite everyone, but I love a challenge, and anybody who has a little detective in them loves a challenge of how do we find a way to comply to everything we need to, because it's important, and this is the market we're in, but still provide amazing innovation for our customers and amplify our lead generation. So it's a few tidbits for you. Hopefully at least one idea came out of it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you. That was very interesting. Can you talk about the process of bringing the creatives and the internal agencies and studio folks along in this process? Because obviously they have maybe legacy processes and methodologies around video and all of that, so that this is a little bit of a leap in some ways, I think, for some folks, as much as I may want it as like a marketer.
Absolutely. So we do work directly many times with creatives and the video production people especially. That's sort of our background has been starting there, especially for large corporations that have in-house production. We're a member of an organization called CMMA, which is Communication and Media, et cetera, and they are production video people that sit within big companies. Such as Dow Chemicals and Wells Fargo and otherwise. And they understand, yes, they have processes they do today, but they're getting all these demands that we talked about to do more, less time, and they have to figure out, where do I invest my time and where do I put my manpower and the budget, which hasn't been growing, and where do I find creative ways to comply to what my organization needs? So even though some, you're right, are a little more set in their ways, you work directly with them. These are the people that in the end have to work in the day-to-day, and we have tons of respect, and they come from a lot of experience. So we work with them even to understand how we should have our products work so that it fits within the workflow that they've achieved. I think I am out of time. It says, sorry, no time for any more questions. Anybody who wants to ask any more questions, I'm still here and would love to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adit. Really appreciate that. Okay.